The children soon became bored with Zane and went to distract themselves with a game while he finished his shopping at the market. His interactions with the sellers were short and to the point, and his arms were full of groceries as he made his way home again.
Mr. M! Mr. M!
Zane turned and saw the same little girl from earlier running up behind him.
There's a stranger in town!
Zane's face turned to stone. They did not get visitors very often, and when they did, they were usually the unpleasant kind. He put his bags on the ground and let the little girl lead him to the town square. There were hardly any people around, and any who were nearby were scuttling away to avoid the stranger. The little girl was bouncing up and down and pointing as she asked,
Is he a bad guy? Are you going to have to fight him?
Zane looked up and saw an old man with a long white beard standing all alone in the town square. He had on a bamboo coolie hat, an off-white robe, and was leaning on an old bamboo staff.
Akari, run home now.
The girl obeyed without hesitation.
Stranger, what business do you have here?
The old man looked up, and his blue eyes shone from underneath the brim of his hat.
Please forgive my intrusion. I am looking for someone.
Zane lifted an eyebrow.
Who is it you're looking for?
A young man by the name of Zane.
Zane's breath caught, and he shifted uncomfortably.
I am he.
My name is Master Wu.
Nice to meet you.
And you. But may I suggest we talk somewhere more private? I have a matter of great importance to discuss.
Of course.
Zane stuttered, and he led Wu to his house. A part of him wanted to shoo this man from town immediately, but the other was desperately curious. Once they were behind closed doors, Zane asked,
How do you know my name?
Wu stood for a moment, looking him up and down. He stroked his beard and said,
There is hardly a soul in Ninjago who does not know the rumors of Sakana village and the warrior who guards it.
Zane's heart fell, but he steadied himself quickly.
What's it to you?
Well, the rumors aren't the whole story, are they? Most versions tend to leave out the part about the Skulkans being frozen to death by magic ice.
Zane's stomach twisted with panic, and he stood up straighter.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wu was silent for another moment.
Zane, you're all right to hide your powers, but you needn't from me.
Zane was about to ask another question when Wu cut him off.
Tell me, why do you defend this village?
He was taken aback by this sudden topic change, but answered,
These people helped me. They saved me. The least I can do is return the favor. They're free to join in the fighting if they want, but everyone else here is under my protection. The soldiers of both armies would sap this place dry without me here guarding it.
Wu seemed to be thinking about something very troubling.
Zane, if you could put an end to the war, would you?
Again, Zane was confused by this old man, but answered,
Of course.
Then I have a proposition for you.
Wu walked to the nearest window.
I am in need of great warriors such as you. Defeating Lord Garmadon won't be easy, but I know of a way.
How?
Unfortunately, that is as much as I can say. There are not many safe places left in Ninjago for such discussions.
Wu walked back over to Zane and stroked his beard again.
So, you're with the Imperial Army, and you need my help to defeat Garmadon?
Wu nodded solemnly.
I'm sorry, but I can't just leave my home unguarded.
I will arrange for my personal guards to protect these people.
When Zane looked ready to retaliate, he quickly added,
I assure you they are the most honorable men I know, handpicked by myself. They will not cause any trouble here.
There was another moment of silence between them.
The day is growing short, and so I must say farewell, but before I do,
He retrieved a small rolled-up scroll from his robes.
take this. You will understand when you open it. Thank you for your hospitality.
Wu gave a shallow bow, then left. Zane was alone again, dumbfounded.
Wait!
He cried as he rushed outside after him. But the streets were empty. He looked down and presently found his grocery bags sitting at his feet with a small note attached. He picked them up and read, You really ought to be more careful where you leave your things. Wu. An uneasy smile flickered across Zane's face as he brought the bags inside and laid them on the kitchen counter, but it was soon replaced by a frown. A great deal had happened in a very short amount of time, and he wasn't quite sure what to make of it. There was something about the way Wu had looked at him. It was as if he knew him. But Zane was sure that they'd never met before, unless... He opened the scroll in his pale hands and began to read feverishly. Zane Julian, rest assured that your secret is safe with me. We have much to discuss, but I'm afraid it will have to wait. If you are so inclined, please meet me at the Yamadera Monastery in the Wayward Mountains outside of Ninjago City. There you'll be greeted by the woman Anjing Haruto. She is a trusted ally of mine. Await further instructions. Zane Julian. Saint Julian, Saint Julian. The words repeated over and over in his head. His last name. Wu did know him. There were so many things he wanted to ask. So many things. Zane sat down so he could process what he had just learned. He thought about it for a long time. He thought about it while he made his dinner, while he ate, while he cleaned, and by the time the sun had set, he was still thinking. Julian. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but like the man in his dream, the true memory was still a blur. Unable to think much more, Zane decided to go for a walk to clear his thoughts. The night air felt good on his face, and his breath came out in small puffs. He passed by houses that belonged to many people he knew well, and the idea of leaving pained him. But at the same time, this could be his only chance to learn who he was, where he came from, who his parents were. Besides, if Wu's mission was successful, then after they defeated Garmadon, his friends would be safe from ransacks forever. He was now standing on the edge of the longest dock in the harbor, staring out beyond the horizon, pondering the possibilities. He reached for his wrist and held his arms together as a child might do as he stands in front of a classroom, and presently began to fiddle with a delicate bracelet he had on. The braided cord came together and attached to a pendant, a single marble, intricately wrapped in a twisted silvery wire, and in darkness it gave off a soft glow. Zane watched the stars above him twinkle and flicker in the inky blackness, and felt his heart sink with grief. By the next morning, he still had not made up his mind, and the inner conflict was driving him mad. He must have walked over every inch of town, just thinking about what he should do, when the sound of the Robinsons' radio came to his ear. Mr. and Mrs. Robinson were out in the garden tending to their plants and listening to the news. They were one of the only ones in town who had a son fighting in the war, and they agonized over it every day.
Repairs are still being made in the eastern provinces that were once under Lord Garmadon's control. There are an estimated 30 people missing, and 189 people suffering from malnourishment and physical abuse in the Sakura Valley alone. The Imperial Army has stationed several relief corps there to help with what can only be described as inhuman torture. In other news, Skulkin forces have been spotted on the southern side of the Jade River.
Zane's head hung low. All those men out there, all those people, suffering, while he had a potential chance to end it all. A chance for Ron Robinson to come home to his parents early, safe and sound. Of course this was the right thing to do. There wasn't a doubt in his mind. But that wasn't what stopped him from boarding a train that very minute. What troubled him was the authenticity of Wu's word. Could they really defeat Garmadon? This was the thought that accompanied him throughout the entirety of the day, and when he drifted off into sleep that night. Again the dream found him in the darkness, and he desperately wished to know more. But then, right as he turned around to face the stranger, he vanished into the darkness beyond. But wait. He didn't wake up. Was he still asleep? Trust Wu. Zane's eyes opened at once. Had he merely imagined that? Or had he truly heard it? He sat up and looked around him. His small house was the same as it ever was. On the third day, he made his way to the village square where he explained the situation to everyone. He would be leaving for a short while, and in his absence, trusted guards would be put in place to protect them from any danger. The people were uneasy, to say the least, but as Zane made his rounds, hugging his friends goodbye, they all felt a bit more relaxed. He packed a single small bag and then began his journey down the long gravel road ahead. A few of the children ran after him and walked by his side for a while, but sooner or later they were called back by their mothers. Zane now walked alone. He reached a small train station within the hour, paid for his ticket, and boarded his train when it arrived an hour later. The ride was fine and uneventful, but Zane felt awfully nervous the farther he got from his home. This was the first time he had ever gone this far away before, and it came to him then that he knew very little outside of Sakana. He became very aware of all the other people in the car and held his case closer, fearing that one of them might try to mug him, or even worse, try to have a conversation with him. His train came to another larger station, where he got off and bought a second ticket for a train headed to Ninjago City.